Welcome to tonight's video. Before we begin, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and settle in. Because what you're about to hear are 3 terrifying paranormal experiences told by real Reddit users. And I warn you, some of these stories may stay with you long after the video ends. So sit back, and whatever you do, don't watch this alone. The first story is called The Shadow in the Basement. When I was 14, my family moved into an old house on the edge of town. It wasn't falling apart, but it carried that feeling of age, of history. The walls creaked, the floors groaned, and at night, the house always seemed colder than it should be. But the basement was the worst. It wasn't finished. Just cracked concrete floors, damp walls, and a single dim light bulb hanging from a wire. The air down there always smelled faintly of mold and something metallic, like rust or blood. From the moment I saw it, I hated it. My parents shrugged it off. To them, it was just a basement. To me, it felt alive. One night, I went down to do laundry. The dryer rattled loudly, echoing through the hollow space. I tried to focus on folding clothes. When I heard it, footsteps, slow, heavy, deliberate, coming from behind me. My heart jumped into my throat. I turned around. No one was there. The door was closed. I was completely alone. I told myself it was just the house settling. But then I noticed something on the wall. The shadows weren't right. They stretched and bent, shifting in ways that didn't match the light, crawling across the wall, inching closer, like they were reaching for me. The bulb flickered. The shadows grew longer. My chest tightened. That was it. I dropped the laundry basket and sprinted upstairs, slamming the door behind me. From that night on, I refused to go back down there. My parents teased me, said I was scared of the dark. But I knew something was wrong down there. And months later, when we finally moved out, the new owners asked us if we had ever felt watched. They said, no matter what room they were in, they could feel eyes on them, always from the basement. It wasn't just me. That basement was alive, and it was watching. After we moved out, I thought I'd never have to think about that basement again. But years later, curiosity got the better of me. One night, I was scrolling through local history forums online, and I stumbled across a thread about haunted houses in my hometown. And there it was, my old address. Dozens of people were commenting, sharing rumors, half-remembered stories, and strange experiences from that exact property. And every story led back to the basement. One post stood out. It was from someone who claimed their grandfather had lived in that house back in the 1940s. He said that before it was ever a family home, it had belonged to a man named Henry Calloway. Henry wasn't just an ordinary man. He was the town's undertaker. Back then, before the funeral parlor was built, Henry worked out of his home. And the basement was his workshop. That was where he stored the bodies, where he prepared them, where he cleaned them, embalmed them, and laid them out. But locals whispered that Henry wasn't always respectful, that sometimes he experimented, that he lingered too long over the dead, whispering to them, as if waiting for an answer. Some even claimed that he performed rituals, that he believed he could reach the souls of the departed. And maybe he did. Because according to that post, people began to notice strange things when they visited the Calloway house. They said the air in the basement felt heavy, like it pressed down on your chest. They said the shadows seemed to move, even when the light was steady. They said if you stayed too long, you'd feel a hand brush your shoulder, even though no one was there. Henry eventually died in that very house. After his death, the property was sold. But the stories never stopped. Each new family reported strange things. Furniture moving on its own. Footsteps echoing from the basement. Whispers at night. Drifting up through the floorboards. Some families stayed only a few months before packing up and leaving. And when my family moved in, we became part of that cycle. It all made sense now. The shadows that stretched toward me. The feeling of eyes on my back. The cold, metallic smell that never went away. It wasn't my imagination. It was decades of death. Soaked into the walls. It was Henry Calloway. Still down there. Still whispering to the dead. But here's the part that chills me the most. The person who posted that story ended with a warning. They said, "If you ever lived in that house, you should count yourself lucky. Some people claim the shadows follow you, even after you leave. And sometimes, late at night, when I'm alone in my new apartment, I swear I see something move in the corner of my room. Just a flicker. A stretch of darkness that doesn't belong. I tell myself it's nothing. Just my imagination. But deep down, I know the truth. I never really left the basement. And the basement never left me." For years I told myself the haunting had stayed behind. Locked in that basement. But the truth is, it followed me. At first it was little things. My keys would vanish from the counter and reappear in the hallway. A glass would shift across the table while I sat there watching. Shadows in the corner of my eye. Small, harmless things I could excuse. Then the nights got worse. I'd wake up with the heavy feeling that someone was standing at the foot of my bed. My chest would tighten until I could hardly breathe. When I sat up, no one was there. Just silence. Just the dark. Mirrors started playing tricks. I'd see a figure move behind me, but when I turned around, the room was empty. At work, I'd hear faint whispers under the hum of the air conditioner. Not clear words, just the rhythm of voices. As though a conversation was happening in another room. Sometimes I'd look up and see a shadow crawl across the wall, bending the wrong way against the light. Friends noticed too. One swore he saw a man standing in my hallway. Just for a second, before he blinked and the figure was gone. Another said my apartment felt too cold, even in the middle of summer. And the smell. That smell from the basement. Damp, mold, metallic. It follows me everywhere. Sometimes it's faint, barely noticeable. Other times it fills my apartment so thick I gag. But by morning, it's always gone. The worst part is how ordinary life continues in between. I still go to work, still shop for groceries. Still smile and laugh with people who have no idea what I carry home with me. But the shadows. They're always there. Stretching across walls, leaning toward me when they think I'm not looking. I used to believe ghosts were tied to places. That once you left a haunted house, you escaped it. But I know now. I didn't leave the basement. I took it with me. And to this day, it hasn't let me go.